Hello, my fools, and welcome to the second installment of Red Ink on Advocates for D20 Kids YouTube channel. If you haven't clicked subscribe, please do subscribe. This is now called Red Ink. Why? Just because I like the name. There's no real reason. A member of my posse came up with it, and I kind of liked it. So no hidden meaning. We're just going to start calling this Red Ink. This is the second installment. Hopefully you saw the first. And I'm going to spend this installment telling you a little bit about myself. I don't want these talks to be about me. It isn't about me. It's about our schools. But somebody watching this may be saying, who is this dude and why do I care what he has to say? So I'm going to tell you my story on this episode and the next one because my story and my family's story is very relevant in terms of the current culture wars that we see unfolding in our schools and in our school boards. So I burst on the scene in terms of school and school board activism last year. Last year, I gave a speech at a local school board. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I live in School District 20 here. I was invited and I signed up to speak at School District 49, neighboring school district, where the board was considering a resolution to prevent the introduction of critical race theory into curriculum. And I went there and spoke, and the thing caught viral fire. Millions, tens and tens of millions of people have seen this now. And if you never have, we're going to roll it for you right now. Back in the studio, hit the button.
Good evening, board. I'd like to begin my comments tonight by reading a quote, which in essence is the genesis of all of this Black Lives Matter, social justice, CRT conversations we're having in our country today. Quote, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color," close quote. Colin Kaepernick, August 2016. I am the direct descendant of the North American slave trade. Both my parents are black, all 4 of my grandparents are black, all 8 of my great-grandparents, all 16 of my great-greats. On my mother's side, my ancestors were enslaved in Alabama. On my father's side, we were enslaved in Texas. I am not oppressed. I'm not oppressed, and I'm not a victim. I'm neither oppressed nor a victim. I travel all across this country of ours, and I check into hotels, and I fly commercially, and I walk into retail establishments, and I order food in restaurants. I go wherever I want, whenever I want. I am treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, literally from coast to coast. I have 3 children. They are not oppressed either, although they are victims. I've taught my children they are victims of 3 things: their own ignorance, their own laziness, and their own poor decision making. That is all. My children, we are not victims of America. We are not victims of some unseen 190-year-old force that kind of floats around in the ether. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is taking our nation in the wrong direction. Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support. And sadly, very sadly, one of those institutions is the American education system. I can think of nothing more damaging to a society than to tell a baby born today that she has grievances against another baby born today simply because of what their ancestors may have done 2 centuries ago. There is simply no point in doing that to our children, and putting critical race theory into our classrooms in part does that. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is not combating racism, it's fanning the flames of what little embers are left. I encourage you to support this resolution. Let racism die the death it deserves, and let's keep living the life of the country that we love. Thank you.
That's how I got involved in school boards. That was like my baptism. I showed up and gave that speech. The thing caught fire. Fox News picked it up. I was on the Dr. Phil show, all kinds of stuff. And here's the thing. What I basically said was, I am not oppressed. And I'm not. Nothing's oppressing me. I live in the greatest, freest nation in the world. I live in a nation where people of color have more opportunity than just about any other nation on the planet, and I'm blessed to live here. But here's the thing. After I gave that speech, I got more hate mail. The left in this country and here in our community hates my guts as a result of saying I'm not oppressed. It's the most bizarre. I continue to get hate mail to this very day. In fact, I'll show you an example. Pull up image number 1. Okay, you see that? So I get stuff like that all the time. As a result of that speech, I get it all the time just because I'm a black conservative, but because of that speech, I get mail like that all the time. And I frequently say, I'm a conservative. Conservatives call me friend, brother, patriot. Leftists call me coon, sellout, house Negro, or worse. Guess which side I'm on. But here's the thing. If in that speech, if I would have gotten up there instead and said, America sucks, this nation is biased, bigoted, basically unfair to people of color, and blacks can't get ahead in this country, and sang that tune, instead of being on Fox News and everywhere else, I would have been on CNN and MSNBC, and Defense of Democracy would be singing my praises, and the left would love me if I'd sung that tune. How bizarre is that? I didn't raise my children that way. I raised my children to believe this is an amazing land of opportunity, and it is, for all people. Yes, people of color may have overcome more obstacles, of course. But that doesn't make this country inherently evil, and it's not. But they hate when I say that. And included in those leftists are YouTube. So my home church here in Colorado Springs, I attend Charis Christian Center. Because I attend church there, they decided to show that video during service. YouTube pulled the plug on their live stream, claiming hate speech. I am a YouTube creator, meaning I monetize. When I put content on YouTube, I get a percentage of the clicks. That's what YouTube creators do. YouTube informed me that they are no longer going to allow me to monetize that video because of violations of community policies. Because I said I'm not oppressed. It's bizarre. The left, for some reason, wants to think these things about our nation. You know what I see in our country? I see people of color in other parts of the world. They put together homemade boats out of bathtubs and tires that they steal off of a junk heap, make a boat out of it, put that thing in the water, and risk being eaten alive by 10-foot-long fish just to get here. Nobody does that in order to reach a land of oppression. Nobody. America is not perfect, but is the best game going. And we provide a free education to our citizens. In fact, we provide a free education to citizens of other countries who come here and live against our laws. And all they want to do is complain? I don't get it. I would rather be a lower upper class citizen of Colorado than an upper lower class citizen of Somalia any day, or Ethiopia, or Congo, etc. And apparently I'm not the only one. We have a United States House representative from Minnesota who immigrated here from Somalia, fleeing that country to find a better life for herself and her family, and now sits in Congress and does nothing but denigrate and tell us how awful this country is. This country isn't awful. And I gave a speech saying that I'm not oppressed, my children aren't oppressed. And why would we want to do that to children? Why would we want to tell any child of any skin color? Why would you want to tell a child that you are a part of an oppressive regime, if you're in the majority, that is keeping your brothers and sisters in this country down due to no fault of your own just because of your skin color? Why would we tell children that? Why would we tell children that you can't get ahead? The deck is stacked against you. This nation, the institutions of this nation are so inherently racist and biased that you can't get ahead no matter how hard you try. Why would we tell any child that? I told my children just the opposite. And on the next installment of Red Ink, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my family, a little bit about my children. I normally don't speak about them a lot in public, but it's entirely relevant to this discussion. So click back and see the next installment. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on myself. Then we'll get into the business of local school board.